our leader pushed them aside, and with nary a stethoscope in sight, he strode to the mic because he wanted to be sure we remained calm. And he knew that these two weren't going to help. So he decided he was going to tell us how we were going to deal with what was going to be happening. And he could do that because he is the first president ever elected, thank you. The first president ever elected who just knows stuff. Yeah. Look, I have lived through a lot of presidents, and none of them knew shit. But this president really was fucking on top of the game. This president knew fucking every fucking thing you could know. Not these idiots. God damn it. All of a sudden, finally, and he knew how much wood a woodchuck would. If a woodchuck could chuck wood. He knew how many cords. He knew how many cords of wood. He memorized all of the recipes in the Betty Crocker cookbook. Yes, he did. Yes, he fucking did. Why? Because he could do it. And at this point, he explained just how the virus would come to us and what would happen. And he said it would be like the flu. It would just come and then, whoop, it would go. It is what he said, and he got the timeline off. But everybody got the timeline off. Everyone did. They're still not sure about the timeline, okay? He got it off. He was wrong, okay? And the reason everybody has been wrong is because everybody's got a fucking theory about how this virus came to be, all right? And I'm the only one who actually knows what happened. And yeah, that's right. And lucky you are here with me this evening so that I can tell you the story. Many people think, oh, it came out of the lab in Wuhan. It did not come out of that lab. That would require intelligence, all right? And when intelligence is involved, this kind of shit doesn't happen. This happens when something fucking stupid happens. And what happened was this. Quite simply, somebody fucked a bat. Somebody fucked a bat. Somebody fucked a bat. I don't think you're listening. Somebody fucked a bat. Someone said, hey, I'm gonna fuck a bat. They saw the bat. They said, ooh, look at how cute that bat is. I'm gonna fuck that bat. They took their little ears on that bat and pushed them down on the table, pulled their penis out and put it inside a bat. I know, it disgusts me to talk about it. Makes me sick. And listen closely, in the first draft of the Old Testament, I don't think you heard me. In the very first draft of the Old Testament, all right, in that draft, many Christians believe that God just wrote that book, just wrote it. And every Jew knows that something that is that well written took a number of fucking rewrites. And so in the first draft, it should be noted that God said, before he tells Adam and Eve not to eat the apple, he says, whatever you do, don't fuck a bat. All hell will break loose. And as you read now, it isn't there. No, in the ensuing drafts, it never comes back. Because God thought, hey, who's gonna fuck a bat? So after listening on March 15th, I was very excited. It was either on March 15th or maybe a day or two after. I can't quite place it, but it was the day in which, for the first time, our government was going to come on the TV and tell us, the people, how we were going to deal with the coming pandemic. Not only as a group, but individually. I was so excited. I called Kathleen. I said, fuck, we're not in charge anymore. Now we've got real experts who'll be telling us exactly what to do. And I was thrilled. I sat down there, and the first people we saw for the first time ever were Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx. There they were. There they were. And I know that some of you, for sure, have problems with Dr. Fauci. And yes, one person screaming in the night. The problem sounded like a sexual one there. But Dr. Fauci, look, if you had a problem with Dr. Fauci, I'm just going to tell you this, all right? Would you want his job? Would you want to do what he did? Would you want to be that person who had to come out every day? What, are you yelling at him because of what? Because he has the shittiest job on earth and you wouldn't do the job, okay? Nobody wanted that fucking job. We're lucky anybody took the job. To come out there and say, it sucks. The next day, it really sucks. It's going to suck more. Here's the sound. That's how sucky it is. Everywhere you go, suck, suck, suck. It's going to be shittier and shittier. Fucking unbelievable. Worst job ever. Son of a bitch. The only job that I think could be worse is if you were douching elephants for a living. Unbelievable. And people were pissed at Fauci. Oh, he got money from Pfizer. Fuck you. That was a lie. Oh, but he was rich. Oh, you idiots. Of course he was rich. He's a doctor, numbnuts. I believe that who they should have hired to do the job, I think what would have made it possible for everybody in the country to not be upset was they should have just had a fucking peacock. I mean it. The peacock should have come out with the announcement every day, and the peacock could have or whatever noise a peacock made. And underneath there'd be a fucking translation of the peacock. And then everybody would watch. They'd turn the TV on. I can't wait to see what the peacock has to say. And Fauci and Birx stood there, and they began to speak, and none of us knew what the fuck they were talking about. We'd never heard or seen anything like this in our lives, ever. And God damn it. And about a third of the way through, it was becoming clearer and clearer what they were saying. And it was really quite simple. And what they were saying was, we're fucked! We're totally fucked! And Reno, son of a bitch, they're gonna hold you there for God knows how long because they're gonna need at least one person to gamble. They talked about closing my show on the 13th. They said we may not go through with it. But they were kind of stuck because 1,500 fuckers had shown up. And we knew this. I knew it because they were in the casino, standing shoulder to shoulder. That did not bode well. There they were. And I was there. I was at a very safe distance. I was watching them through binoculars. That night I went on stage. It was a sold-out house. I really didn't know what to say. I'd never been in this position before. Nobody knew what was coming next. And I stared out at them, and the first thing that came into my mind was, well, thanks for risking your life. I got a bigger laugh that night. And so I finished up. I walked off the stage, one of the strangest performances, great in many ways, odd in others. It was, and I went into my dressing room, and I flashed on that thing they say about comics that I'd never thought about in this way before. You know, boy, he really killed him tonight. On March 14th, it was time I could go home. I was supposed to fly through O'Hare. I was not going to go through O'Hare because I knew, and Kathleen knew, that the first time that COVID went from one person to another in this country was at O'Hare. That's the kind of shit I knew. So I'm not going to that fucking airport. I don't have a hazmat suit. They think we're going back to normal. They keep saying that. I mean, is going back to normal having Steve Bannon in the White House, is that normal? Steve Bannon, does that make sense? Steve Bannon, why would you have him at the White House? Why would you have him at the White House, okay? That I don't understand, because I wouldn't want to look at Steve Bannon, and not on any kind of a bait. Steve Bannon looks exactly like how I feel when I'm hungover. Would you put Kellyanne Conway back in the White House? Is that normal? Kellyanne Conway is somebody you choose to kill your daughter's cheerleading rival. We've gone back to really, we're an abnormal. We tripled down on abnormal. We are so abnormal in certain ways that we've made countries that used to look abnormal look fucking normal. We're going through really unusual times, really strange times. Okay? The vaccine. The president,